This video may contain spoilers. Can we ever have enough Yellowstone spin-offs? Yellowstone fans are demanding a new spin-off with Josh Lucas playing John Dutton. So where do we go when we want to see more of this amazing actor? Until our demands are heard. Let's take a look at the top 5 Josh Lucas films of his career as well. But first, let's talk about Yellowstone fans demanding a new spin-off. There's just no stopping the momentum Yellowstone has gained. And now we're almost at the halfway mark for its 5th season. And while we still have a little way to go, it's already become pretty clear what one of the biggest talking points of Season 5 is: the extraordinary performance of Josh Lucas, who portrays the younger version of John Dutton. Lucas has made appearances as young John Dutton in earlier seasons as well, but only for brief sequences. This has changed in the current season of Yellowstone, and it hasn't gone unnoticed by dedicated fans. Many have praised Lucas's acting skills, and have already mentioned that Lucas should get more screen time, or even be added to the cast of Yellowstone as a regular. But things have shifted slightly, as they now have taken to Twitter to demand yet another spin-off of the series. This time, they want a whole show dedicated solely to the young John Dutton, with Lucas filling his shoes. Some have even accused creator Taylor Sheridan of gatekeeping Lucas as Dutton, and demand that he be released into the Yellowstone universe. And it's not just fans who are impressed by Lucas's performance. Critics have also wholeheartedly agreed that his portrayal of young John Dutton is excellent. Will we be heard and be given another Yellowstone spin-off? For those who are unfamiliar with Josh Lucas before he entered the cast of Yellowstone, we'll have you know that he's been around much longer than you might think. Lucas started his career when he was 19 years old, but he moved to Hollywood after his high school graduation. So let's take a look at the top 5 Josh Lucas films of his career. First up, Secondhand Lions. Secondhand Lions is a comedy drama movie written and directed by Tim McCanlies, which was released in 2003. While Josh Lucas didn't get to play a big part in Secondhand Lions, it was an important one, and his brief appearance does make a deep impression. The movie follows a shy and scared young boy named Walter, portrayed by Haley Joel Osment, who keeps getting dumped off in whatever place his mother can find where someone will supposedly take care of him. This is how he one day gets dropped off at his uncle's place, Hub and Garth, portrayed by Robert Duvall and Michael Caine, respectively, where it's clear he's not all too welcome. In the beginning, Walter is barely tolerated, but that all changes when, after a while, they realize that they couldn't do without Walter anymore. Lucas appears at the very end of the movie to give some sort of closure to his character's uncle's lives and affirm that they did actually do the things that Garth has spoken of, and that they were remembered. The critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is that Secondhand Lions is a wholesome but schmaltzy movie. It got a 60% critics rating and an 85% viewers rating. Next, Stealth. Stealth is a military science fiction action movie that was directed by Rob Cohen and written by W.D. Richter, which was released in 2005. This time around, Josh Lucas was the star of the movie, as one of the 3 pilots that carry the movie. They're absolutely the best at what they do and operate as a well-oiled team that doesn't seem to have any weaknesses. But then they get introduced to a new fighter jet that is completely run by artificial intelligence, and they naturally feel some resistance when it comes to accepting the new pilot into their team, but are willing to give it a go. That is, until the AI is hit by a freak lightning strike, after which they quickly discover that this new AI pilot is a lot more dangerous than they could have guessed, as it starts to execute theoretical missions of its own accord. While there's no denying that Lucas's performance was amazing, Stealth was a critical and box office failure. It grossed $79 million against a budget of $135 million, making it one of the worst losses in cinematic history. This is also reflected in the critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, which reads, "Loud, preposterous, and predictable, Stealth borrows heavily and unsuccessfully from Top Gun and 2001: A Space Odyssey." Stealth got a 12% critics rating and a 39% viewer rating, but those who are interested in seeing more of Lucas's acting abilities should not be deterred, as it absolutely holds up. Hold up, were you really thinking about ducking out just when it starts to get good? Next, we're going to get into the top 3 of Josh Lucas's movies of his career. We'll have something that features Reese Witherspoon, the basketball story that changed American college basketball, and a true story about a beautiful mind. Make sure to keep watching until the end of the video to get all the details you need. Next, the top 3, starting with Sweet Home Alabama. Sweet Home Alabama is a sweet romantic comedy, drama, fantasy movie directed by Andy Tennant, with a story written by Douglas J. Ebach and screenplay by C.J. Cox. The movie was released in 2002. Sweet Home Alabama tells the story of Melanie Smooter, portrayed by Reese Witherspoon, who has decided to move to New York and start over. And while she's highly successful in doing so, and even finds herself engaged to the son of the mayor of New York, there's just one small thing she forgot to complete: her divorce. Going back to Alabama means going back to a life that she has worked so hard to get away from. But that's the only way to try and get her ex, Jake Perry, who is portrayed by Josh Lucas, to sign the divorce papers that have been left for so long, Melanie just forgot about them. The thing is, Jake has no interest in signing the papers. Of course, as movies like these tend to go, eventually they both realize that they are still very much in love with each other, and they get to live happily ever after. The general public was quite charmed with the story. The critics were less amused. The critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is that Reese Witherspoon is charming enough, but The Road to Alabama is well traveled. It got a 38% critics rating and a 78% viewer rating. In second place, we find Glory Road. Glory Road is a sports drama movie that was directed by James Garner, with a screenplay by Chris Cleveland, Bettina Gilloy, and Gregory Allen Howard. The movie is based on the book Glory Road, my story of the 1966 NCAA basketball championship and how one team triumphed against the odds and changed America forever. It tells the story of Don Haskins, portrayed by Josh Lucas, who became the first coach to assemble an all-African American team in the NCAA finals. The strategy was unheard of at the time and raised a lot of eyebrows, but ended up making history in two distinct ways. For one, it simply had never been done before, and for another, it finally gave Texas Western a genuine presence in the NCAA. Haskins and his team would go on to win the game, writing a novel chapter that would eventually catch on and change American college basketball forever. Lucas puts down an amazing performance, and while his character can be truly inspiring, there are a few moments where he's a bit of a jerk. The critics' consensus on Rotten Tomato reads, "As formulaic as sports movies get, this underdog story still triumphs on the strength of its inspiring story." It got a 55% critics rating and an 81% viewer rating. And taking the lead in this top 5, we have A Beautiful Mind. A Beautiful Mind is a biographical movie that was directed by Ron Howard and written by Akiva Goldsman, with a screenplay that was inspired by the 1998 biography of the same name about the mathematician Josh Nash, a Nobel laureate in economics. The story starts with Nash, portrayed by Russell Crowe, during his final days as a graduate student at Princeton University. Not too far into the movie, Nash starts to develop paranoid schizophrenia and has to endure delusional episodes. Josh Lucas portrays Hanson, who is arguably a bit of a jerk, but then again, Crowe's Nash isn't exactly a walk in the park either. Some argue that the movie doesn't hold up because it's not entirely faithful to what really happened. But when has a movie ever accomplished perfect representation? So the question you may have is whether the confrontation between Nash and Hanson happened the way it was portrayed, or if it ever happened at all. Either way, A Beautiful Mind is an amazing movie that does offer lots of food for thought. The critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes reads, "The well-acted A Beautiful Mind is both a moving love story and a revealing look at mental illness." It got a 74% critics rating and a whopping 93% viewer rating. And that's it. Do you want another Yellowstone prequel featuring Josh Lucas as a young John Dutton? Let us know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.